world.
Same way you do it at home. What? Yeah, I'll turn off the mic so it doesn't give feedback. And then you don't want a Nissan. Nissans suck. They're not good cars. Why does that show up here if I open it? Huh? Why? What do you have anything to do with Nissan? Why? Why would you be a diehard fan of anything? Haven't you been paying attention in class with tribalism and all that stuff? Always be wary of people who are diehard fans of anything. There's a reason, you know where the word fan comes from, right? It's a short form of the word fanatic, fanatical.
Oh, yeah, fanatic.
All right. So I'm going to mute. I guess, Jacob, how are you going to do this, Jacob? Do you have a Chromebook? Okay. Okay, slight change of plans. Sabrina will present first.
All right, fair warning, this is kind of long.
Figuring it out. You really want to take one of these and then sanitize it. No one's using them. So one here. They work for the great ideal classroom.
Hey, can you guys hear me at
Yeah, we can hear you at home.
Hey, if you guys at home can like hear me, can you acknowledge it?
Yeah, we could hear you.
All right, thanks. So can I start?
Did they reply?
Somebody said something.
We can hear you.
All right, so I'm gonna be talking about Japan today. So part one, before we get into answering the questions, I'd like to give you guys a little bit of context about Japan. So the history of Japan begins in the hunter-gatherer Jomon period, which spanned from 1300 BC, 13,000 BC to 300 BC, with the introduction of rice from the Asian continental mainland. This marked the beginning of the agrarian Yayoi period. The Japanese economy began to grow around agriculture, and political power became concentrated as the divide began to grow between rich and poor. The majority of power ended up resting in the hands of wealthy landowners, which led to the formation of states and fighting over land. This leads now to the Kofun period, where political power really began to centralize, leading to the Nara period, where the first permanent capital, Nara, was established. While Japan was mostly ruled by emperors, in reality, aristocrats assumed power during the Heian period. It's this period where we can see the emergence of the class system: samurai, agrarian, artisan, and merchant. The rise of the samurai class saw the Kamakura period, where the Minamoto clan rose to political prominence and created the first samurai-run government. In 1333, Emperor Go-Daigo defeated the samurai government and regained imperial control. However, another samurai government was set up in 1336 in northern Kyoto, and a 50-year civil war between imperial loyalists and samurai broke out. The Kyoto samurai's power weakened, and that paved the way for feudal warlords to take control. It wasn't until the late 1500s when Japan was finally unionized by warlord Hideyoshi Toyotomi. So the majority of the questions that I'm going to be answering takes place in the last two periods I have here on this timeline, the Edo period and the Meiji period. So I'm not going to cover them in my explanation in my context. So part two, I'm answering the questions. What groups or people have impacted Japan? Well, in 1853, Matthew Perry pulled Japan out of its isolation policies pulled it out of its isolationist policies. He was sent by the U.S. President Millard Fillmore to force entry to Japanese ports by any means necessary, and was partially driven by manifest destiny to expand the West into Asia. Japan was warned of his voyage, but were unwilling to change their policies before his arrival. At his arrival to Edo, he threatened to open Edo's ports, telling them that he would destroy them if they didn't. 1 year later, the Kanagawa Treaty between the US and Japan was signed, ending Japan's isolation. There was much internal debate in Japan about the entry of foreigners, and the influx of foreign goods and the drain of Japanese goods caused much inflation. Another prominent foreigner in Japanese history is Douglas MacArthur, stationed in Japan after its defeat in World War II. He oversaw its government as democracy and reform was pushed onto it. So this leads us to question two, B, who are its former rulers or colonial powers? So the MacArthur occupation was the only time Japan has ever been under foreign rule. It managed to avoid colonial rule in 1853 when Perry arrived, but it could not escape MacArthur. During the occupation, MacArthur did not report to his higher-ups, and in reality was running much of the occupation by himself. In the 6 years of occupation, he successfully demilitarized Japan, liberalized its society, government, and economy, emphasized stability and economic growth, and ratified a new, more American constitution. Prior to this occupation, however, Japan was the one doing much of the occupying and colonizing. Pre-World War II, Japan had colonized the Kuril Islands, Taiwan, the Shandong Peninsula, and Korea. During World War II, Japan had colonized and occupied various parts of mainland China, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Malaysia, and much, much more. So when was its golden age? Although this is purely subjective, many will agree that the Heian period was Japan's golden age, mostly because of the impact of its flourishing culture. The court aristocracy was responsible for these developments, as their aesthetic pursuits led to great advancements in art and literature. In terms of pure military power, however, Japan was the strongest just before World War II, toward the end of just before the start of World War I and to the end of World War II. It was during this time when Japan became the first non-European power to defeat a European when it annexed Korea, had a place in the Paris Peace Conference, controlled major parts of mainland China, and was generally a major political threat. So how did it achieve independence? Although Japan has never been in control under an outside power, one could argue that Japan is still not free, because despite the installation of the Meiji Constitution in 1889, which created a government similar to the Prussian one with both a monarch and a diet or a parliament, Japan continues to have an emperor. Although the Japanese people get to vote for a prime minister, they're still under the control of a monarch, and you could argue that they're not truly free. So what's the relationship of Japan to its historical and ethnic tribal minorities? So Japan has always had a very negative history with its indigenous groups. The most northern island, Hokkaido, is home to the Ainu people. They lived there comfortably until the Meiji Restoration, when Japan colonized the island and pushed the Ainu off their traditional land and enacted oppressive policies like the 1899 Hokkaido Former Aborigines Protection Act. Only in April 2019 were the Ainu people legally recognized as indigenous peoples of Japan. In the south, the Ryukyuan people live in the Ryukyu Islands. They were treated similarly to the Ainu, as the Ryukyu Islands were annexed by Japan during the Meiji Restoration, and the people there were forcibly assimilated into the dominant culture. However, unlike the Ainu, they aren't recognized as an indigenous group, but are rather considered a subgroup of the dominant Japanese ethnicity. So what's the most significant military, political, economic, and social events that have shaped Japan's views? So in my opinion, the most significant military and social event in Japanese history was probably World War II. The war itself reveals Japan's strength and created a sense of nationalism in a country that was previously invisible on the world stage. The fallout of the war demilitarized Japan, but its liberalization was short-lived, as Japanese nationalism quickly became fascism. However, the Meiji Restoration could also be considered a very important social event, as statist Shintoism, the dominant Japanese religion during that time, was founded then. And its legacy can be seen still present in the reactionary and expansionist ideals of World War II and present-day Japan. The most important event in Japanese politics was the installation of a constitution, a diet, and a prime minister in the Meiji Restoration. And economically, although the opening of Japan by Matthew Perry was very important, it's probably not as important as the economic boom during World War II and post-war era. It revolutionized many Japanese industries, and it also led to the economic bubble bursting in the 90s and causing a decade-long recession that we can still see the effects of to this day. So part 3, here and now. This is how Japan sees the world and how the world sees Japan. So what does our country see as the most important world problem? Japan has a long and varied list of problems, including but not limited to its aging population, shrinking workforce, sexism, fragile and unstable economy, and lack of social safety nets. The world stage is not something that Japan cares about too much right now. Perhaps Japan never really lost its isolationist ways. It deters immigration, it's unwilling to forge strong relationships with other countries, and tends only to interact with the global stage in terms of economics. So B, who are our traditional allies and enemies? Historically, Japan has always had a good relationship with Britain and continues to do so. Similarly, Japan and Russia have always been adversarial and still are. C, how does it see its role in world affairs? So as of now, Japan's role in global affairs is fairly limited, due in part to internal issues. However, it does seem like Japan wants to be seen as a part of the international community, as can be seen by its membership in international organizations such as UNESCO, GATT, the UN, OECD, and the Western Economic Summit. More recently, however, Japan has begun to play a more influential role in institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, likely because of its stake in the economic hierarchy. However, because of its power and capital, there is much debate if Japan should remain largely impartial or if it should begin to involve itself in world politics. So, how does the rest of the world see Japan? Well, most foreigners view Japan fairly positively. They focus on the high-quality goods, intriguing historical sites, and they like to romanticize Japanese aesthetics. Despite its many economic crashes, it has a very high GDP and is very reputable in terms of economics. Its pop culture is prominent throughout the West, and people are perfectly content to picture Japan as it is portrayed in media. It's upheld as a perfect foil to Western powers, its perceived simplicity and traditional way of life is something the West should aspire to be. However, most people ignore all of Japan's shortcomings, from its continued rise of reactionaries to its rampant xenophobia and ethno-nationalism, favoring instead to uncritically indulge in what it has to offer. All right, thanks for listening, guys.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know that we learned quite a bit about Japan in like 5 minutes. That was awesome. All right. Anyone have anything to say? Comment, questions? I'm surprised you didn't mention Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. That was a joke. Hey, fun fact. What's that? I can't believe I'm tired. You know when you get sushi and then you can also get like deep fried shrimp and veggies? What's that called again? Tempura. Tempura is not traditionally Japanese. It was actually the Americans bringing over fried chicken. And then the Japanese were like, ooh, that's nice. Let's make it our own way. And then they made it out of rice flour, hence tempura batter, and started making it like 100 and something years ago. And now it's like totally considered like a Japanese food, even though it was fully something influenced by the Americans.
You can say the same about anime, because the first anime was Astro Boy, and that was inspired during the MacArthur occupation by somebody bringing Donald Duck over. And then the author of Astro Boy was like, yeah, we're going to make Astro Boy, and that led to all of modern anime.
There you go. There you go. All right. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. How's Jacob doing over there? Where is he? Hiding? Can't even see him. Oh, there you are. I was like, where'd you go? There you are. All right, I'm going to mute my mic again.
I can't hear anything.
Hello? Yo, my bad. Sure, I'm gonna say some more stuff. So although the Communications Security Establishment was actually formed in 1946, it has only recently become solely dedicated to maintaining Canada's cybersecurity. In addition, during the 1980s, the Canadian government sought to greater fortify its intelligence database, and the Canadian Security Intelligence Service was created in 1984. Particularly since 9/11, both organizations have worked to maintain the safety of Canadian citizens. The main body that does the surveillance work in the cyber realm is the CSE. So throughout this presentation, you will hear a lot about what the CSE is responsible for and how Bill C-59 gave them overarching powers. So dangers of the cyber world today, many of these involve tracking Canadian citizens, personal data security, phishing and phone scams, government hacking, and the deep and dark web. Details of Bill C-59. So the three new acts that it imposed were the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency Act, which created the NSIRA, the Intelligence Commissioner Act, and the Canadian Security Establishment Act. So it was designed to address the issue of overreaching power that the Conservatives proposed in Bill C-51 under Stephen Harper. It is the first overhaul of Canada's international security in 30 years, creates accountability between Canada's security divisions, problematic information sharing, government surveillance, allows secret trials, and amends the broad definition of terrorist propaganda. So this is an infographic representing the power of the CSE. It's kind of hard to see, but probably find it online. So in accountability, so basically the whole thing increases accountability of the CSE. The National Security Intelligence Review Agency will review the activities of our two spy agencies, CSIS and the CSE, as well as other national security involved agencies and departments like the RCMP and CVSA. The Intelligence Commissioner, a retired judge, will provide oversight for the ways these agencies interpret the authorizations and laws that govern their work. Fortunately, there's still work to do. So there's an article by Craig Forsyth and Kent Roach by Maclean's, and there's a right-wing article. So basically, both of these two law professors agree for Bill C-59, and see it's a positive thing for Canada because it increases accountability in Parliament, so we can have more trust in our government. Legally defines the power of the CSE, does not violate any charter rights, and limits the scope for what is considered terrorist speech crime. From the Global Mail, we have an article by Rachel Emanuel, and Rachel Emanuel basically says that the only factual information, such as when the bill was passed and what was entailed within the bill, but does not provide any personal criticism of the bill. She maintains a neutral tone, albeit at times subtly argues how Bill C-59 is a positive change. Here's a quote from the text. The decision to launch cybersecurity attacks will be reviewed by the Intelligence Commissioner, new position created by the bill, Mr. Goodell said. He said Canadian agencies, such as ones responsible for the electric power systems, banking, infrastructure, and air traffic control, are constantly under attack by entities including foreign governments and militaries, rogue states, organized crime groups, and terrorist organizations. So again, from the Global News, there is a more left-wing article by Monique Scotty, provides a left-wing criticism of Bill C-59 and outlines some dangers and addresses the power breach that will be given to the CSE. So active cyber operations, meanwhile, can be carried out to degrade, disrupt, influence, respond, or to interfere with the capabilities, intentions, or activities of a foreign individual, state, organization, or terrorist group as they relate to international affairs, defense, or security, especially she's afraid that there could be too much power given. So reasons for Bill C-59. Everyday concerns. So one day, Bill C-59 can assist Canadians by fortifying security systems designed to protect Canadians from cyber scams. With the increasing range of power given to the CSE can use this to create a special team. In fact, as of recently, this has happened. Recently, there have been a rise of fraudulent websites spreading disinformation about COVID-19 and using fear-mongering facts to obtain people's credit card information. Catherine Tunney of CBC explains that the Communications Security Establishment has already taken down a number of fraudulent sites that have spoofed the Public Health Agency of Canada, Canada Revenue, and most recently, Canada Border Services Agency. So domestic terrorism, in 2018, a report outlined by the Canadian government, Canada's terrorist threat continues to be from groups such as Daesh, ISIS, or Al Qaeda. So these groups also have branches in Canada that actively recruit individuals in Canada and or inspire individuals to launch attacks in Canada. So the Parliament, such as the Parliament shooting in 2014. However, some subcultures such as incels can pose violent threats to Canada as well. One prime example is the New York van attack of 2018, in which 10 were killed and 16 people were injured. The cyber warfare, this is Cyber warfare is basically like threats. It's basically warfare throughout the internet or like through technology. So one example is the People's Liberation Army of China. They plan to codes that destroy data or take control of infrastructure networks, and they're like in networks such as the Defense Research and Development of Canada and the Finance Department, Treasury Board, and also infiltrating subcontracting firms and system related to development of the Joint Strike Fighter, which it's like an anti-missile fighter. The no-fly list, secure air travel is pretty important for like people since 9/11. It's very important, and the government created a no-fly list. Basically, Bill C-59 will be able to allow for more accuracy of the no-fly list and hopefully like not accidentally like have people on there or the reason against Bill C-59. So Cambridge Analytica was a political forum that had access to the private information of 50 million Facebook users. So basically how it works is how you had one person do a quiz, and then you were able to access like every single one of that person's friends' information. So a database company founded by Nigel Oakes, who came up with the idea to create a tracking program that could assist political campaigns. Donald Trump actually contracted Cambridge Analytica and a team of programmers set up a system that tracked user data in Facebook to target individuals that were neutrals in the 2016 federal election. Neutrals were swayed to the Republican Party through dissemination of fake news and anti-Democratic Party propaganda. So basically, if you had any people sitting on the fence during the election, they would do their best to send them political content that would put them in favor of Trump. The user data was retrieved through a survey program, and in fine print stated this data is being collected. Users have agreed to this policy, essentially signed up to the data. The government surveillance can be, people are generally like kind of afraid of government surveillance because it's very invasive, prone to abuse. There was a case where a special agent in Canada used the database to track the travel patterns of an ex-girlfriend and her family. And another thing is that allowing surveillance at this level can encourage government to expand at a next level. And so here we have a picture of Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden is a whistleblower who worked in the CIA. He basically leaked a bunch of government information, and a lot of the information he found was that the government is like watching us in our homes, and he has been like a pretty big voice in like anti-government security for surveillance. So do you feel like you are being watched by the government, and does this bother you?
This is a big issue, and it's not new, right? The book 1984. During the communist Soviet era, walls have ears. There's always this push for surveillance of the citizenship or the the world. And remember that film we watched, the documentary, where so they go to China, and the guy's like, they have it wrong in the West, freedom in the name of, or privacy in the name of taking away freedom, or whatever. What did he say? No, protection or peace, and we give up our freedom to have protection and all that stuff. Is definitely like he was arguing that it's a cultural thing, right? In the West, whose mic is on? Oh, someone's mic is on. In the West, we see like, I want privacy. In the East, he argued that it's okay to give up your privacy as long as it helps us be safe, right? And this is a huge, like, which side is right? There,
It's the same side, according to Jacob Yarby.
Right. But that's the difference between how people accept it. So the professor in China argued that the people know and they accept it. Whereas in North America, we're not supposed to know and we don't accept it. Even though it's still happening. Pardon me?
Like, now that you know, what can you do about it?
Well, that's the thing, right? What can you do about it? Well,
You accept it in some way.
yeah, but if you accepted everything that happened to you, especially, corruption or not, what kind of world are we living in this world? Well, many people argue that you have every, right to voice your opinion, right? Remember in grade 10, we studied Hobbes and Locke, and when you see corruption in the government, they argue that you have every right to stand up against the government, right? One said peacefully, or one said protestly. Yeah.
Didn't one of those guys like argue for the same thing? He's like, you submit to the king because you're dumb and you can't rule yourself.
Right. So they're justifying government, but they're not justifying total control. They were just, and this is the ongoing debate in, political philosophy, is how much control should a government have over its people, right? And then justifications, and today the big thing is in the name of safety, especially after 2001, September 11th, it was all about safety, right? But before that, it was still an issue of control or surveillance, in terms of control, and was it safety, or was it keeping citizens from rising up against the government, right? And this is an ongoing issue. But the funny thing is, with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all this stuff, 100% everybody who has those platforms has agreed to give away all their information, right? So in 1984, the book, he argues that the government will take all your information and monitor you. The key aspect he got wrong was that at this point, the government doesn't even need to take the information. People are giving it to them, right? You're giving it away. So the analytics, the Cambridge Analytics, they wrote it right into the thing that if you take this test or what have you, you're taking your information. Did anybody read that? No, but they put it there, right? When you log into your new, when you download your new, iOS update on your iPhone or what have you, there's like hundreds of pages of the new policy. Has anybody ever read it? Exactly. Right? So how can people on one hand argue that how can people, argue that I don't want my privacy, I want my privacy, and yet post pictures of themselves and their family and what they're doing and everything constantly on social media? You know what I mean? Like, where is that? That's a huge, oxymoron. How does that even work? How do people say, especially in the West, where the users of, look at what happened in TikTok the last year. Everybody's constantly saying TikTok is a tool of the Chinese government. The year before that, Huawei, the company, is everyone saying it's a tool of the Chinese government for surveillance. Yet, tons of people have a Huawei phone, and TikTok is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, social media platform out there. Everybody knows the Chinese government controls this and is taking all your information. And people are so angry that their privacy is, taken away by the government, yet they're freely giving away everything about themselves, all the analytics about who you are, what you like to eat, what you like to surf on, for free. And this is the problem with our, I don't even know what the word to say, with people today, is that how can you think that way? Are you not thinking about that? You know what I mean?
I said, what does the Chinese government want to do with you?
what does the Chinese government want to do with our favorite food? Well, it's not just about your favorite food. It's about who you are and how they can target you to, if people know information about you, that's the first step in controlling you, right? And it's not up to us to figure out what they're using that information for. But what it is that if somebody has information on someone else, it can be used in one way or another. Anything from targeted ads, innocently enough, to, the spectrum is huge. Total control of the person.
Being able to arrest you because they think you're planning like some coup.
Right, like they mentioned in that documentary we watched, they're working on technology that looks at your face and says, this person's about to commit a crime. Let's arrest them. Like, this is not even science fiction right now. This is real. So, how do they get that information that they can say this person's about to commit a crime? Through all these analytics, right? There are police agencies in the United States that have programs implemented that are, they're trying to incorporate that predict where crime will occur. What time of day, what neighborhoods, what demographic, all that. This was a movie made 10, 15 years ago called The Minority Report. It was a science fiction movie once upon a time. Now, it's becoming reality, right? But again, I reiterate the point that people are giving it all away for free. Here, look, this is who I am. This is the food I ate. This is a picture of me. This is a picture of all my friends. This is where I live. This is what I'm doing right now. Hey, everybody. What are you doing? You know what I mean? What are you doing? Anyway. So, yeah. And then, like, the information can be abused, right? So, people are up in arms that if you open your Google account, there are targeted ads. How do you think targeted ads work? Have you guys seen? Yeah, you love targeted ads, but how do you think it works? Because it's, you've been monitored. Yes, you can turn off customized ads, Dina, but they're still monitoring you. Pardon me?
Like, they still have the information. You turning it off just means you're lying.
Exactly. So, interestingly enough, I don't know if it's a part of your YCDSB K-12 account, but if you have a regular Google account, you can actually go to, and it's not even that hard to find. We can Google how to get it. They have a page under your settings somewhere that tells you who they think you are. You know that, right?
Who they think I am?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it says by the things that you've done or how they've tracked you, and this is not even hidden. This is a legitimate part of Google.
Where do I find it?
Yeah. And it says what your age bracket is, what your gender is, what your this is, what your that is.
Okay, where do I
And
go?
it's none of this has been inputted by you. It's just following you.
Where do I see this?
How do we find it? Dina, how do you find it? You're there. Okay, so see, it's a summary. Go to Google account, data and personalization. Scroll to the things.
Wait, where is this? In like settings?
Here, let me, I don't know if it's on as a part of your,
I have it. I have my other Gmail.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be on your other Gmail, but,
Let's see. Got it.
okay, so is
It
it,
thinks I'm 35 to 44 years old.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, they're wrong.
Let me check my normal. Oh no, this is my normal Google account. I don't know why I think.
does your school one have it too?
Where did you go?
I'm broadcasting
I
it.
just searched
Oh
up.
shoot. Where's that? How did you get there?
I just searched up Google account data personalization. I clicked the first link.
Data and personalization.
And
Google.
then I went down to ad personalization. I went to go to ad settings.
Personalization.
You know what? For the rest of the course, we're gonna watch a couple movies, and one of them is I'm gonna find it. It's on Netflix, but I'm gonna try to get it. The Social Dilemma. It talks all about social media and how it's.
Sure, there's a movie on
Well, it's not really about Mark Zuckerberg. It's on Netflix.
All the socials on.
It has
Social
some-
Dilemma.
It has something under here that says the UDI. I do not know what that is.
The Udi.
Yeah,
I'm not getting it.
OODIE.
It's not telling me who I am.
Outfit of. Never mind, that's OOTD. Never mind.
Okay. So anyway, where do you think this data comes from? This personalization data.
Where did that go from here?
I don't know, man. Where do any of us go from
No,
here?
I mean like.
Just take it one day at a time, bro.
To find the thing. Like, I don't know. I can't-
Go here. I'm putting it on. It should
We're really dumb. Like,
follow the steps.
Oh, this stuff.
Step 1.
we're doing so small.
Go to Google account.
It's on your computer. I'm screen broadcasting it.
Data, personalization. From there, scroll to the things that.
What data?
Okay, go to Google account,
Oh,
which
things
is
that-
the
things that you create and do.
Oh, is that it?
Things
Oh, I
that-
see it now.
Go to Google
the
dashboard.
Google account should be your face, I think,
Oh, no.
or your avatar.
Where's dashboard?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's loading.
So.
And you can turn it off, but that doesn't mean they're gonna stop collecting your data.
You don't see it. It's like,
You'll see
it's freaking like
Google services, Google services. Oh, summary of my account. Do I hit account first? You'll see. Select which yours.
Oh, the internet crashed on me.
The internet crashed on you. See, they don't want you to know.
I got to hear, but I don't know what to do from here.
Mark Zuckerberg is listening.
How's your internet still working?
Good. It knows where I live. I downloaded my.
It's on your screen. Anyway, even if you have all the things you could possibly have setting wise on your social media accounts as private, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. And everything is still being collected. Here's a fun one. You know WhatsApp? You know why it's so popular?
It's a backdoor for CIA.
No, well, that's not why it's so popular. It's super popular and became popular because, unlike iMessage or Facebook Messenger or what have you, it's encrypted. Which means that nobody can break into it and find your messages. Okay, so that's great.
There's a backdoor.
But
There's a backdoor.
it's not even there's no back door. What it is that WhatsApp is owned by Google, or sorry, Facebook, I think. And even though it's encrypted and nobody can access your work, who can and does access it all?
Mark Zuckerberg.
And his team, Facebook. So now the big thing is the messaging program that's actually well, for now, totally encrypted in private is called Signal, right? I don't know if you guys have heard about that.
Yeah.
That's the newest one now, right? Right?
Can I remove things from my ad personalization?
You can turn it off.
Because no. I like
What does it tell? What does it say? You're an 86-year-old female.
No, it actually got a lot of it right. It's like it says I'm a male that likes American football, which I don't, but I guess that just comes with sports. It likes
I'm just changing my
athletic shoes,
age. I don't even put my-
basketball. Some of these things I just feel like I've never looked up ever. Coffee and espresso makers? No.
Oh, yeah, once.
Okay,
Yeah, but-
it's fine.
It's also like the algorithms of the artificial intelligence are learning and getting better every day. So basically what it is a lot of the things that says, okay, you specifically like the NFL, it doesn't necessarily mean that you like and watch it. It means that you fit the description as of how AI works right now of somebody who would watch the NFL.
Maybe if they gave me a good enough ad, I'd give
Okay, well, there you go. But do you see what I'm saying? So WhatsApp was on the news, but everyone forgot about it. Yeah. Everyone forgets about everything, right? Anyway, so AI is getting better and better, and the algorithms are getting better and better at targeting ads, right? So, you know, there was all that joke a couple years ago and Facebook denied it, yet everybody says it's true, where you were talking about something with your friends, and then later on you're on Facebook and an ad shows up for that particular thing that you were talking about.
I was playing a
Right.
game last night. I was playing this thing called Block Grid, and I just checked the first few letters, and it's brought it up.
Yeah, exactly.
But I need like the exact.
Right. So there's no privacy. Now, it used to be the government against the people, but now it's private. Now people, more and more people are understanding it's not the governments that do anything, it's the private industry. And that's what's, even in Sabrina, you were talking about, for the first time that, it was who was ruling the aristocrats, right? And in Japan. And this has been going on for a very long time. Is it the political representatives who become mad with power who run things? Or are the people behind them, the rich, the companies, the private industries that run things, right? This is, sensitive topics that.
So my information is like really wrong though. It says I like voting.
Okay, but like I said,
voting.
right now it's still early days, but in a year or two, the algorithms and the artificial intelligence will grow that much more. So right now, the information it's telling you,
Still, you cannot vote.
but I'm telling you, it says, Tyler, a lot of the things there tell you what the AI thinks that you'd probably be into. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? There's a big difference in this guy actively seeks out boats to he fits the demographic of somebody who would like to go on a boat.
I just don't want to do it. I don't
Google it. Maybe you shouldn't Google it. I don't know.
It's the third result for it's the third thing, like after age, gender, and then it's
What do you like to search?
How do you spell it?
I do not know, so I do not recommend. What do I like? It just gave me results for hoodies.
Sorts of water.
Yeah. Do you wear a hoodie?
Sometimes.
There you go. It has a picture of you. So interestingly enough, how every phone has a camera, every computer has a camera. If you Google Mark Zuckerberg, like a picture of him, there's any picture that he's sitting in front of a computer, he personally has a little sticker over his
I think I know what it is.
his camera.
Yeah, but he's also like Mark Zuckerberg. Like,
Yeah, isn't that?
people are probably gonna try to like hack him all the time.
So there's a
Like, who do you think's
company-
trying to hack Matthew's dick out here? Probably no one.
So there's a
Also, that the idea the data is wrong relies on the assumption that they're giving you all the data they have on you. Exactly. Why would they give you 100% report of who you are? But also, just by talking out loud, saying, this is wrong. I don't like NFL. I like NHL. Boom. You just told the computer you like the NHL instead.
So you think they're selling the information to China?
Oh,
You know what? It's so much bigger than that. It's not about,
Like, would you rather the American government have your information over the Chinese government? They're both bad.
I don't think that part matters. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna try to download the social dilemma, and we're gonna watch it tomorrow. And you guys are gonna be blown away at what is happening online to you. Yeah, it's on Netflix. So what are we supposed to do? Well, first of all, it's not about what you're supposed to do. It's about simply I know our school is online.
Like, where is off the grid?
There's no such thing as off the
That's what I
grid.
mean, that's what I mean. Like,
NordVPN, no.
Yes,
You're still logging into your social media. And when I say social media, Google counts as social media, any part of Google. Obviously, the obvious ones like Facebook, TikTok, Insta, those are all obvious social media platforms. But Google is a social media platform. They're still monitoring who you are. Any account like that, right? People use their real names. It's all monitored. Now, is it monitored for negative things? Is it monitored for ads, targeted ads, so they can make money? These are things,
Okay, why does Google get to sell my data to ad companies? Get rid of the middleman. I'll sell my data to ad companies.
but you're already giving it away for free.
I'll willingly sell my data to actors.
Honestly, yeah.
I don't think they're.
You can't sell it if you're already giving it away for free, bro. You were really concerned about data. You could use Tor. What's Tor?
And then I'll just get an
Oh.
MBA and do IT.
Yeah, but you're still logging into a social media account. Yeah, you still can't use social media, right? But who knows what's listening?
Didn't we learn about a digital footprint years ago?
Oh yeah. People have been talking about digital footprints and all that, but it's so much. The point I'm trying to tell you is that it's so much bigger than you think it is,
Oh no, 100%.
right? It's think about it this way. Think about how fast technology progresses, and your phone. What was it? Facebook and iPhone came out around the same time, right? Like 2007. That's 13 years ago. How much it has progressed in 13 years ago, in 13 years,
Yeah.
right?
And also, especially when it comes to, say, for example, coding, right now, those that work in the artificial intelligence are seen to be, it's cool, it's something different. But now, from what I've heard, they're trying to implement coding within, the fourth grade curriculum, which will just completely catalyze so much more of everything that you're just talking about, because everyone will know how to do it.
All right, guys, join us. Let's have a whole class conversation.
I doubt when they mean to implement like coding in the fourth grade. I think they mean like teaching kids how to build websites, like benign stuff like that. I doubt that's gonna hurt anything.
I think the move, if you think back to before, guys, come on. If you have something to say, let's do it as a class. Think about what happened last year and a half ago. The government, especially Ontario, was like, let's move everything online. Remember that? This was way before COVID, right? So teachers even went to strike against this stuff last year, right? And the students walked out.
Wait, I thought that was because of like teachers getting fired.
It was a little bit of everything, but a big part of it was, mandatory e-learning and your quality of education, right? Boom, look what's happening today.
Are you saying the Canadian government started COVID? That's what it sounds like.
What? No, I'm saying everything.
The Ontario teachers.
Jeez, don't you dare put words in my mouth. What I'm saying is that there are trends, right? And so they didn't have to do it like this for COVID.
What do you suggest?
No, I'm not suggesting that this is a bad situation. What I'm suggesting is that there are trends that are beyond the control of because of the way that the industry has kind of, it's starting to get its life of its own with artificial intelligence, creating algorithms, changing everything, that the online learning platform specifically, like we've been using Google Classroom for years. Then there's this push by the government to like, okay, let's save some money by actually creating, what was it, like 6 credits online or whatever. And then COVID happens and then they're like, okay, so we have to use online learning now because we have to figure out a way to have less kids in the class. But so I'm saying like it's a trend that's moving towards, and not just in school, at work. All those office buildings in downtown Toronto are empty right now, and they've been empty for 8 months. And to be honest with you, I personally don't think they're going to be filled ever again at the same rate as it ever was, because people go to work and sit in front of a computer. Why do they have to go to an office building if they're just going to go to an office building to sit in front of a computer? Because once upon a time, but now who can monitor them? They can 100% be monitored. One of my best friends, he works for a big, huge company. His department is like 8 people, and they have like an office together. It's like a big office, the 8 people together. As soon as COVID happened, they switched online. They're literally on the Zoom call or whatever the platform they use all day. Like they can't just get up and go. You know what I mean? Like they're monitoring each other. Like the company knows that this person's still working. So with the use of technology, the boss doesn't have to walk up and down the aisles and see, are you working? Because the computer systems are monitoring these people. Are they getting their stuff done or not? Right? So I'm talking about trends. If we're going to be sitting here and I'm going to be giving you lectures and talking, why can't I do this online? Why do you have to be in school? The one thing that I can't stand about this new situation is that I can't do any I was going to do this whole mock parliament thing where we get together, whatever. We can't do any of that. And that sucks. We can't do any of the social, stuff that we would have done once upon a time, right? Maybe I can figure out one day, once we figure out really how this Google Meet thing works, how to do this online platform, how to do like a mock parliament. But it's all so new. But the trend is moving that way, right? Almost every kid has a laptop, and you have had one for years, right? I don't know if I'm the only I'm not the only teacher who uses Google Classroom, that's for sure, right? Or D2L. I guess those are really the only 2 that we use. There are others, right? And so where are we moving to? Are we moving to entirely online? If everything can be done online and separate people even more? You ever seen that movie WALL-E? Okay, so what's WALL-E? WALL-E was a joke once upon a time, right? All those people up in the space station, they sit down, they have a screen, they have all the targeted ads, they interact with each other, but entirely through their screen. That movie's what, like 15 years old?
No, it has to be further than that. No, I swear it was
2008, so it's 12 years old. So literally came out right at the beginning of the iPhone. The iPhone came out in 2007. So at that time, people were like, wow, that's a very scary future. We're literally almost living in it, other than the moving chairs. Everything else, you have your face in your phone. You interact with each other digitally. Okay, so, well, no, it's a movie about how the humans have destroyed the earth, so they had to go and live up. Well, I think it was really, it focused on, make sure you don't kill the environment. But the biggest part of that movie I got was, look what happened to the humans. What has?
Wheelchairs.
Okay, yeah, wheelchairs have existed for a long time. But think about it this way. Most people, still walk, right? Even if you have a bicycle or a bus or a car, you're still going to walk from one point to the other. These people in WALL-E are all in, moving chairs that never have to set foot on anything. So flash backwards a couple years, those Segway things or like the hover pods or whatever. Like These, you think it's a joke, right? But these things are becoming reality, and more people are using them. Is the whole entire human race gonna move around on a Segway one day at a time? The question is absurd, isn't it? But so was the fact that they mentioned in WALL-E that everybody has got their face in their phone. This was 1 year into iPhone, which means most people didn't have iPhone. There was no social media yet. Everyone laughed at it. It's literally happening now. We live in it. You're on your phone. You're interacting with people. Well before COVID, you walk down the halls of the St. Roberts. You have groups of kids. It's practically silent because everyone's on their phone and you're all talking to each other on your phone. It was and has been, and it's getting more silent and more silent and more silent because that's how you talk to each other, right? You have, group chats, and then you have branches off the group chat. This is all your life that you just yeah, that's how it is. This is the warning that WALL-E gave us, right? And then it manifested, right? And now we're even more separated, so we're forced to interact with each other even more so through digital means, right? So, it's not necessarily you have to decide whether or not you like it or accept it or are scared or happy about it. That's totally irrelevant, in terms of what I'm saying. I'm just giving you information, but point it out. Just look around what life is like. Yeah. Dina said, yes, in my school, phones were banned and it was completely different. Yeah. And then they had no choice but to have phones because more and more teachers are going on Google Classroom or what have you. So you need some kind of device. Remember Ford banned phones 2 years ago or 2 years ago? Remember? Or it was like November of last year. Remember that? Unless it's used as a device for Google Classroom, phones were banned in all of Ontario. Nobody listened. You're right, Panthea.
Yeah, you did say that.
But it was like a full-out thing. Boom, flash forward to COVID. The government's giving Chromebooks away to people.
I really didn't like when teachers would take away your phones and give it to the office. It's so extra.
Just say put it away.
Or just put it on your desk. Giving it to the office is so extra. And then
You
they
have to
actually
go
get mad
downstairs
at
and
you.
talk to them about the office.
Yeah, it is.
You have to explain to them oh, I'm a bad student. Give me my.
I just said, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had teachers put it on their desk or something, and even though it's embarrassing, it's like,
Better
it's a,
than having to go down to the office.
yeah, it's a lot better than
Listen,
having
We're literally living in a transitional period in technology. Yeah.
You think the singularity is gonna happen soon?
What the heck?
Singularity? Explain that.
You don't know what that just.
Conspiracy
Define
theory.
singularity.
Did Ontario teachers start the conversation?
What, like when AI becomes more powerful than humans?
It just means there's a point where technology can still happen. So much that we can't count it out.
Yeah.
That's what singularity means. It can be related to AI, but not necessarily.
No, what do you guys
Like
think?
It's definitely happening.
Yeah.
And they talk about that in the
Is it?
in that film, in the documentary.
Elon Musk has been chipping people and stuff like that?
Well,
Yeah,
he said he proposed, but he's not the first person to propose a chip. I mean,
yeah, but he's Elon Musk.
there are people today who have chips in them that they've self-implanted.
He's like, hey, look at me, I'm gonna
Right.
tweet this on Twitter.
Depends what the chip does. But like the first thing about a chip, before we even need the chip in it, like you I don't know how many of you guys have your credit card, if you have a credit card, or your debit card linked to your phone.
I know. I do.
You know?
I remember whenever
I
I
didn't use
think about shipping, I remember this one episode of Doctor Who. You ever seen that show?
Yeah.
Where everyone had this chip implanted into them, and at a certain point every day they would get an update, so everyone would just stop what they're doing,
Yeah.
and, stand still while.
Have you not seen Black Mirror?
Yeah, I've seen it.
You know why the guy stopped writing it? He wrote, basically, he hasn't really done much, is because he realized everything is happening faster than what I expected to happen, right?
Well, I believe there's a new season that this year.
The what?
Black Mirror. You know what Black Mirror means?
Yeah, this all told me 20 times, sir.
She did?
Was it
Yeah.
Does it mean
Look at your phone when it's off. It's a black mirror or any screen.
Suddenly I'm caught.
Yeah. I saw someone with a chip and it opened her cabinets in the kitchen.
Yeah, that was so dumb.
Well,
It wasn't really a chip, it was more like a magnet.
dogs have tracking chips,
Yeah,
sure. Cats have tracking chips. So do cats.
Years ago, this guy lost his finger.
Everyone started freaking out when that girl put the chip in her, mainly because it was actually through religious reasoning. So a lot of Catholics and Christians, I think, it was something prophesized in the commandments or something about having a chip in your left hand, and people started freaking out
Oh, you mean like the mark of the beast thing that people
yeah, the mark of the
all
beast.
over Facebook?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's silliness.
I remember hearing.
So that's one of the conspiracy theories that they're talking about right now with the COVID vaccine, right?
Years ago, this guy, he lost his finger and replaced it with a USB. Like, there's a hidden USB in that with like the right case.
Ironically, USB is no longer being used, and now it's all USB-C.
But I thought that was cool at that time. I still kind of think it's cool, but I still like shipping is like that actually more affects you. You know,
Right?
the USB does not connect to your own ID or anything about you. It's just.
Anyway,
Anytime, any day.
At
Okay.
the same time, it's kind of useless because then you don't have to have your finger in the thing at all times. And that will probably not be very comfortable or work well ever. But
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so the question goes back to, do you care that in, private industry / government you or not? You know,
To be honest.
right? The government claims in the name of safety. Private industry claims, well, many of them claim they're not doing it, and now it's coming to light, and they're saying, well, to give you a better understanding of or life of, targeted towards you. But you don't care. Nobody really cares.
Well, I do care, but there's a few things to it. One is with it's kind of unavoidable, and I think the pros outweigh the cons.
What are the pros of other
No,
industry
I'm just-
knowing everything about you?
I'm saying using the internet is kind of like inevitability. You can't escape.
Okay, but what if we look into the future? So we mentioned, pre-crime, like they talked about in that Minority Report thing. So basically, all of a sudden, and this is a serious thing in that movie, where they accuse people of a certain crime of, I think it's murder. They haven't done it. They didn't even know that they're going to be a murderer, and they're arrested for murder because the computer said this person is about to commit a murder.
Based on like what?
Based on all this information. That's my point. This is not even science fiction anymore. There are companies in this world that's what they do, is using algorithms and history and this and that, are trying to get software to be more efficient at predicting crime. Okay? What if you're arrested for murder and you never did it? Like, there's all these ethical.
Sir, that's not possible.
How
Because
is
when
it
you're
not
tried,
possible?
because when you're tried
Google
for a
it.
crime, you
It's
need the
happening.
actus reus, which is like the actual act of committing a crime.
Huh?
How can you be charged or like tried with something if
So
you're missing one of
today-
the but you're missing one of the most important elements of a crime.
Yeah, today, that's what it's like. As you know, things change, laws change, right?
I feel like it has to be more like.
Wouldn't they just like track you more, I guess, or like watch you more? Like, I don't think they would arrest you for not doing something or just thinking about doing something. Because I think all of us at some point think about doing bad things, but like that doesn't mean we should be arrested for it.
Did you
know
not
what I
watch
mean?
that documentary that we watched a couple weeks ago?
The
About
one with
the one there where they go to different countries about the
yeah,
declaration.
I did watch it, and I know how like The
You see
quote where
that
the guy,
there's literally companies that working on stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So why,
But it-
like, you can't, honestly, it's great to be optimistic about this world, but if you're too optimistic, the key is to find balance here. And
But
you
I'm
have
but
to
I'm just
understand
saying,
that
like,
things, aren't always rainbows and sunshine in this world.
this is how people have been, like, this is the, like, theoreticalness of crime. Like, you can't, or like the legal system, like, you can't change something that's like been implemented for like years now.
What do you
Like,
mean you can't change anything that are implemented
because
in years?
that's not right.
If
It's not right.
let's say the companies come up with these algorithms that are so 100% accurate that there's no doubt that the computer can predict a crime. As soon as that happens, they're going to change the laws. Think about it this way. In the United States, with capital punishment, they know that it is not 100% of the people who get killed are actually, guilty. They know this, but they're still putting people to death. Okay? So your argument, Tina, I hate to say it, is flawed. Because if we already have a system where people are being put to death or sent to jail, and the court finds them guilty, but they're actually not guilty, then what's the difference between once upon a time in the future, a computer predicting that this person will be guilty? Right?
But I don't think we
Wait,
should be
sir.
like trying to think of a computer trying to predict us. Instead, we should be improving our system right now, right? Like, instead of focusing
I
on
know. I'm not disagreeing with you, Tina. I'm just saying this is implemented now. There are companies and governments who already use it. There are police precincts in the United States that actively use technology that predicts crime. Are they going and pre-arresting people yet? No, but they're sending police into those neighborhoods because they're trying to prevent things to happen. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like it's not like some magic like it's not some magic AI where you tell it the data and it spits stuff back out. It's just they look at the data and they're like, there's a lot of crime here, so we're gonna and then they catch. Like they arrest more people, so then it's like
Exactly, right? It's all in the name of safety, prevention, this and that. The thing that I'm talking about with the pre-crime, that's science fiction. Arresting someone before they've committed a crime is science fiction. But so much of science fiction throughout history has come true. That's all I'm saying. And the more we are innocently saying, oh, that could never happen, and I don't even mean about pre-crime, I just mean anything. If you are so innocent and say that can never happen, you got to think twice, because tons of stuff happens that once upon a time could never have even been thought of as a possibility.
Wait, sir, where are they getting their accusations from? Like, what is it based off of?
What, in real life?
Yeah, like, is it
These
based off of,
companies
like,
are
previous-
working towards, with facial recognition software, to, history of neighborhoods, to, the history of people, all these different factors. There's millions of factors that go into the, and then they can pinpoint, like at this corner, at this time, all the algorithms point out to the fact that there will be a crime.
Yeah, the facial recognition systems cannot be accurate most of the time because there are a lot of I don't know if you know what doppelgangers are. Like, there are a lot of people that may look extremely alike. Like, they could be twins or just something.
Yeah, you got to understand, technology is way past what you're thinking right now already.
Twins can't even open each other's eyes.
Like these, the technology for facial recognition and is way beyond what you're talking about right now. Like, I've already said this before, but you can grasp it this way. Think about it this way. In the 1970s, I told you this already, satellites were so powerful that they could take a picture of a human face. In the 1970s, it's 2020 now. Think about how far technology has progressed in 50 years. How accurate it can be at identifying people if in 1970s a satellite could take a picture of somebody's face. You got to just grasp that. So you can't say technology is not there to identify people. 100% is identified people even without their face.
With fingerprints as well. Just
Anything.
so many.
The sound, like there's so many factors that a computer can identify somebody with. You know, and ironically, your face mask now, everyone's all laughing about how your phone doesn't work to open up your phone, right? Give it, I swear, give it 1 year. Not even, and there's going to be an update on the iPhone that will address the whole mask wearing open thing. Not even a year, like months. I guarantee it. Mark my words. They will have an update that incorporates your mask into opening up your phone. And that's simple. They're probably working on it. They probably have all these beta testers already. You know? You can't be naive and innocent to think that technology is not where it is. It's way beyond what you even think it is right now.
But like, I feel like we think that, but then like to watch something on like how they're trying to find like a murderer, and then it always seems like they don't have any technology. Like when something like that. Why can't they use it?
There's a difference between widely available technology and the level of where that's at. You know what I'm saying? Like your iPhone is, even the brand new iPhone 12 that's coming, is it out already? Is like state-of-the-art iPhone for the masses. But have you ever thought of the fact that Apple's able to release a little bit something better every year? Do you not think that they have the technology to make something that's equivalent to like an iPhone 30 already? Yes, they have to be. But they're slowly giving everybody that technology a little bit better every year. And why do you think they're doing that? Well, so that they can consistently sell their products, right? Yeah. You know, when cell phones came out, when they had those bricks, you know, like Nokia, they were designed to last 7 years. Everyone had a phone for an average of 3 to 7 years. Now, 2 years is a good run. Right? This is all part of the industry. Right? Anyway, track you and catch you when you want to come. Okay, good. Okay, so it's 10 o'clock right now. You guys have, I'm not going to do, I was going to talk about war and stuff, but not right now. Anyway.
Imagine a war.
Well, you know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely drone strikes. There's cyber attacks. There's, you know, traditional gun against gun is probably something we're not going to see much of in terms of the future of war. It'll be more like shut down systems and this and that, right?
Even during World War II, like the generals were saying like wars are won like during the planning process, not even during the actual round.
Yeah.
I was expecting like robots, like Terminator.
Oh, they're making those.
That would be sick. They're like, you play like a video game, and then just fighting other robots.
Well, people are already, you know.
Like dogs that can, robot dogs that can like open doors. Those are being developed by the American government.
And they're getting better and better and better exponentially. You know what? How technology gets better exponentially, right? It doesn't just go a little bit better and a little bit better. Anyway, okay. So we got an hour left. Work on your whatever you need to work on. CPT, country, this and that. I'm gonna take a break for 5 minutes, but I'm here. We're all here.